Hello and welcome. And like Don Andrews so graciously announced, I am your host, Joshua Griffith. And this is the Unnamed Sports Show here on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. Major League Soccer and the Vancouver Whitecaps season are getting into full action, and that is where we'll be focusing today. I'm going to be joined later on by the legendary Tom Bogert to chat all things MLS, as well as get caught up with the Vancouver Whitecaps 1-0 loss to Colorado and look ahead to CF Montreal match on Saturday. So before we get into the interview, make sure you like the video down at the bottom. This is the 50th episode of the Unnamed Sports Show, so pretty happy about that. But we're going to save the celebrations for the 1-year anniversary show that's coming up next week. Make sure that you subscribe to the Sports Talk Line channel if you don't already, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think of the interview and the Whitecaps season. So without further ado, let's get to the fantastic interview with Tom Bogert. We chatted everything Whitecaps, MLS, a little bit of CONCACAF Champions League, and I really hope you guys enjoy this because I had a lot of fun chatting with it. All right, so I'm so thrilled to be joined now on the Unnamed Sports Show by the legendary Tom Bogert, MLS insider, and the man with the news before we write about it. So, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Too kind.
So first off, during these times, as we get through COVID, just want to make sure you and your family are staying safe and healthy.
Yeah, I can't complain. The vaccine rollout has been very strong here in New Jersey. So everybody in my immediate family has gotten it, and things are slowly starting to get to normal. How about yourself?
Yeah, we're getting there in British Columbia. Vaccines rolling out. I think we're at about maybe 50% that has been vaccinated now that can.
Oh, that's more than I knew. That's strong. Good to hear.
Yeah, so things are looking up here, but still kind of in lockdown with some restrictions. But
of course.
So obviously, I want to start with the Vancouver Whitecaps and their 1-0 loss to the Colorado Rapids on Sunday, and then just kind of their season in general. But since that was a two-part question, we'll start with the beginning with the loss to Colorado. What did you make of that game Sunday evening?
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate. It was another tight game, which should be encouraging, just kind of based on the way the team has started the season. And you know, I say this every single time I talk about Canadian teams. So, but for it to not get old, like we need to remember that this was a home game in Utah for the Vancouver Whitecaps, a team that's living at air quote at home, thousands of miles or hundreds of miles away from their actual home. So you can't have a discussion about the Canadian teams without mentioning that.
Mark points it out in media to us, like maybe once a month at least, just to make sure. He's like, these are not home games.
And again, like that, like some people might be cynical and try to call that excuse making, but like that's just, it's a hardship, you know, not seen anywhere of any time. So I think that's something that should never be overlooked. And again, it's all part of the context. But again, they played another tight game, and if the team kind of plays like this, they will pick up points. They will, you know, they're not going to lose to a worldie on a free kick every single week, you know, and there will be games where it's Ali Adnan stealing the points with something like that, or it's Lucas Cavallini kind of being a, you know, the battering ram that he is, stealing a couple points. You know, they should be disappointed, I suppose, to lose to the Rapids given, you know, their troubles to start the season. And you know, I think the Rapids will comfortably be a playoff team, but they will be one of those teams probably in that, you know, 4 to 7 range. So, you know, maybe Vancouver's going to look back at this in, you know, September, October, be like, damn, like that was kind of our opportunity to like get one over on a struggling team who, you know, might be near us in the standings. Or it won't matter either way. Maybe they'll be so far either above or below the playoff line that this is moot, and it'll just be a game that we all forgot pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely too. And so what did you just make of the Vancouver Whitecaps start of their season in general? They, you know, they had the win over Portland to start the season, which was, you know, really nice to see for fans. And then they had the draw on the road against Toronto FC.
Yeah, it's been encouraging, and particularly so given that Chal Alexandre hasn't, I think he started one of the 3 games. And obviously the frustrations with Ali Adnan not being available yet, and who knows how long that'll take, and Bruno Gaspar yet to start, I believe, unless I'm misremembering that. But, you know, those are going to be 3 key players for this team, and the 2 of them were 2 of their 3 key signings of the offseason. So the fact that they've kind of started the season with 4 points and being able to kind of grab points while putting this together on the fly, I think has been important and welcomed and positive. And when they played Toronto, like I was laughing about this every time I think about like that equalizer to Toronto is just, what can you do? There's so much planning. There's analytics. You can do whatever you want. You can game plan, but what can you do about a clearance hitting Michael Baldisimo in the face, rolling to an unmarked Toronto player 6 yards out, Maxime Crepeau kind of making the save, deflected towards the post, and somehow sneaks in the post as people are falling all over each other. Like I can sit here and give you analysis of the tactics. I can say that I like that Marcus kind of settled more to like a defend and counter or some variation of that, a little bit more nuanced rather than just black and white. But like sometimes those things happen and you drop points or sometimes you gain points. So, it's all fun in the game, but I'm generally kind of positive on their start.
So somebody on my Twitter synced that goal to the Benny Hill music, and I used it in my game recap, and it was so perfect. Like you said, it was just one of those goals where you could do it a million times over, and it would never happen the exact same way.
I was talking to people at the club after the game, and one person was like, kind of just shrugged his shoulders, like, "Man, like we were dominant, like we deserve to win. Like it's just like what the hell can we do,
Yeah, Mark was very adamant that they deserved the 3 points in that one, and they were pretty pissed. Mark was actually also pretty pissed. I don't know if you saw about after the Colorado game and the video assistant referee and Alan Chapman and a couple of his decisions. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch kind of the specifics of some of these, or I need to watch it again. But I was talking to the great JJ Adams about this, and he was like, I don't think I've ever heard a coach like 3 separate times go back to talk about this. He's like, can't wait to see when the fines come out because we're going to see his name there. Like,
he made his own questions. Michael McCall from AFTN was asking questions. They were about, hey, Mike, coach, what do you think about this tactics and this player? He's like, so I want to talk about Alan Chapman again. He's like,
you gotta respect it. And honestly, like good for him. Just speak your mind. And like, I'm sure he knew that he could have even done like the old NBA joke where he kind of took out his wallet or a checkbook and be like, all right, like setting this aside, I know what I'm doing, but screw it. I'm talking. Like, I don't care.
Well, I think Axel had his back on the checkbook for that one. And speaking of the Whitecaps, as I'm joined here by Tom Bogert on the Unnamed Sports Show, Vancouver hasn't been afraid to splash cash this year. We've kind of mentioned Bruno Gaspar, Kyle Alexandre, Daber Casado, another one of their big signings in the offseason. What do you make of the team's direction under Axel Schuster now that he's kind of had a year to set in? He has a recruiting staff with Nico Overhaul, and it just seems like things have settled down for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, I think that this should be really encouraging. Their transfer strategy was a very loose definition of the word, I think, before Axel got here, and just kind of even before looking at the specific signings, just looking at kind of the infrastructure that he's starting to help kind of implement again with Nico's, as you said, who has just a fantastic record during his time with Midtjylland and Brentford. I think that's a fantastic signing, again, for the guys behind the scenes. So I think that is a very good in a modern way, and honestly long overdue. Like even Axel's not joked about it, but just kind of pointed out to the effect of, like when I got here we had one scout or whatever, and we had nobody in analytics, and so he kind of worked and helped, and fair play to ownership for being able to create those positions. Again, long overdue, so I don't know how much credit the ownership should receive, but and then getting down to the micro of those signings, I was very bullish on their offseason. I don't know if I was the minority or majority on that opinion, but I really like the 3 signings that they made, and I think that the 3 players are going to be solid. And the only thing that kept it from being an A+, the beyond any reasonable expectation perfection was if a DP number 10 came in, and they should still be held to kind of that criticism. But I do get the school of thought is you don't want to just sign somebody to sign somebody, and the targets that they've been either linked with, whether it's been reported by me or elsewhere, I think that there's 4 or 5 guys who you can pretty confidently say were at the very least on their short list, if not in active, genuine negotiations. And those players, their profiles, if they kind of wrangle in somebody like that, somebody like Octavio, or I'm blanking on some of the other names, and Jean-Pierre, like if they sign somebody like that, like that's going to transform this team in this attack, and maybe they won't need to play counter and in transition, and maybe Lucas Cavallini will get the long needed service he needs, and maybe that makes Dagger Caicedo look even better. So I think that they're still missing that one piece, and it's been too long for them to not sign that piece. But other than that, I can't say enough good things.
So it looks like they're looking for that number 10, and I've actually been abolished from asking about it. I have to mention it in other terms. Are you looking for another player? Because Marcus has made it very clear. So Josh, you can't keep calling it number 10. We're finding a player, but it'll be in our fit. So, but it is encouraging for Whitecaps fans to see them looking for big names like Otavio from Porto. Most recently a couple names out of Santos, and they seem to be scouting the Brazilian Serie A side pretty hard. So I don't know if you've heard anything on a number 10 front. I'm hearing probably the same rumblings that you are. Couple interesting ones from Twitter accounts that I would rather not name on my show, but just wondering if you're hearing anything on the number 10 side for the Whitecaps.
No, I mean the Jean-Pierre, or I apologize if I'm butchering that name. I've only seen it written down. I haven't heard it out loud, even on these like highlight clips that I've watched of him.
Hey, you're on my show, so I am the king of butchering names. I once called Manuel Vaith. I called him Manuel Veth the first time he was on.
That's how you pronounce his name? Oh boy, that's good to know. I should have just played that off and been like, oh yeah, I knew that. But okay, that's good to know moving forward.
Yeah, it's Manuel Vaith.
Yes. Okay, I'm learning things here. But yeah, so with Jean-Pierre, or the Brazilian 10 that they've been linked pretty hard with. Look, he was a target. That's genuine. They looked into signing him. He was somebody who they kind of had on their short list. The reports that things continued to progress, and even the last few weeks, I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, I guess there could be new information, but as of right now, from the multiple people I've talked to, that's kind of off. And, I suppose I'd be surprised if something got rescued there, but hey, you can never say never with the transfer window open, with Brazilian clubs kind of in the position they are when it comes to finances, and, with Vancouver having that need. So I wouldn't, I suppose, rule it out, but as of right now, there's been nothing I've heard kind of on that front.
Okay, well, let's look ahead to this weekend against CF Montreal. They have a new coach in Wilfred Nancy, 1 win, 2 draws, start the year. Can this team, Tom, make an impact in the East this year? And yes, 100%. I just went there with that pun.
Can they make an impact? I don't know. I think they can make a club to foot. That's what they can make.
Oh. And that's why you are the legendary Tom Bogert, and I'm just Joshua Griffith.
Look, I don't want to be the guy, pissing on the parade or anything. I think that they've exceeded my expectations so far, and that would be because my expectations were very, very low for Montreal. And again, they've done some things that seem to be repeatable. It's not necessarily all fool's gold, but I'm gonna wait and see before I build a statue. Look, the simple fact is 2 of their 3 games came against teams following CONCACAF Champions League, something that the Vancouver Whitecaps benefited from as well. But the other game for Montreal, they were thoroughly outplayed for 75 of the 90 minutes by Nashville, and I know game states come into that, but they got a worldie from Mason Toye, who has only displayed consistency for 3 weeks over his three-year career now, and they got a deflected shot from like 22 yards from Broguillard that kind of snuck in the top corner. And again, I don't think that those things are repeatable. I do think that they're going to be much harder to play against than I thought they were going to be this year. I really do like the 3-4-2-1. I'm not surprised that Djordje Mihailovic has looked as good as he has, and that's a lot of fun to watch him level up. But I'm going to take a wait and see approach when it comes to this team before I kind of anoint them in that a real playoff phase.
Yeah, Mihailovic has been nice to see. He was very underutilized in Chicago, and it's he's a fun player to watch. I'm excited to see him on Saturday against the Whitecaps. So, Tom, if we could just take kind of a more of a broader MLS approach, anything that kind of really stands out for you this year? I mean, we have Chicharito's resurgence in LA with Greg Vanney as his head coach, early struggles from some of the, the CONCACAF Champions League participants like Portland and Toronto. Let's get your thoughts on the year so far.
Yeah, I don't know how I continue to let myself be let down by CCL. The MLS teams look so great in the round of 16 rather, and I talked myself into we could see maybe even 3 teams in the semifinals, and then the only one was the team where it was guaranteed an MLS team would get through. So that's been disappointing, and I'm mad at myself for letting myself get to that. There's some other, I guess, just general takeaways. I can't wait to see Everson Soteldo for Toronto FC. I can't say it enough. That I think that this dude, we're going to look at him as like a best 11 talent. Like, this dude was one of the best players in the Copa Libertadores last year. He was being quoted in reports of, like $18 million bids. Who knows how true that was or not? But it wasn't like when that number came out, oh, that's crazy, nobody would ever spend that. It was like, man, like maybe that's an overpay, but I could see it, maybe 15, and Toronto get him for 6 because they were opportunistic and very smart. And just, I think that him and Pozuelo together, when Pozuelo gets fit, is just going to be incredible, to the point where, it's like Josie Altidore is an afterthought at the moment. Ayo Akinola is an afterthought at the moment, just because of this attack. And like, that's, rising youth international, and, one of the most decorated U.S. national team forwards of all time. And it took me whatever 6 sentences to talk about them with this Toronto attack. It's just, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
He's going to be an exciting player to watch for Toronto. I'm actually disappointed that the Whitecaps have already played Toronto, and I don't get to cover him a bit more, but maybe I will jump on some of the TFC media availabilities if he's up after some of the games. So, Tom, it's just been an absolute blast to talk to you today. Glad we were able to reschedule it, of course. And I know you're always working on things. You were literally just on the Atlanta media availability, and I saw that the head coach had some interesting comments on that one. Not about the referees like Mark Santos, but about his counter coach.
Yeah, so that's been fun. I've enjoyed that. And I like that Jim Curtin kind of called him, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse here, so I'll just say a-hole and a sore loser after the CCL game, because Hines, wasn't very much interested in the post-game handshake. And Jim Curtin is among the very kindest managers when it comes to press conferences, and he goes out of his way to compliment teams and other managers, and he did so with Hines too. He didn't take anything too personally. He's like, I think he's a great player. I think he's a great coach. I think that Atlanta are going to be very good this year, but hey, like, you don't have to be a sore loser and an a-hole. And so, the classic journalist thing that we love nothing more than going, hey, he said this, what do you think? So that was asked pretty quickly in the presser today, and Hines didn't have, much of a response other to say that, hey, like, I would say it to him in person or whatever, rather than like this. And the quick response was everybody putting up the pictures of, yeah, I'm pretty sure Jim told you this to your face as well, like, not just in the media. So it's all good fun. We need more of this.
The coaches and stuff, and that's what I love about the Whitecaps media. It's a lot of fun. And I mean, I had Axel Schuster at one of the press conferences at the beginning of the season pretend that he didn't speak English at one point when I asked him a question about where his scouts might be positioned. And he just goes like this, and I'm like, Tom asked him the question again. Now, oh yeah, Axel, if you didn't understand, this was the question. He's like, oh no, I understood. I'm just not answering it. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun like that. So I'm looking forward to a long and exciting MLS season, and hopefully you can come back and join me at some point.
Yes, please. Always got time for you. Always enjoy it.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you're working on? Where can people find you? Because I know you're absolutely everywhere. I mean, when I'm writing your bylines here on the script for my producer, he's like, is this a mistake? Is there supposed to be this many things? I'm like, yes, there is supposed to be.
It's just throw the smorgasbord of anywhere I've had clips. It's mostly, call it like 98% of the work now at MLSsoccer.com, but you'll be seeing my name at a couple other places this season, so we'll see.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. And thank you very much, Tom Bogert, for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right. So for anyone who follows the MLS and doesn't follow Tom on Twitter, then you're not really MLSing properly. Like I said at the beginning, he is the one to drop the news before we get to write about it. MLS Insider, writes for MLS.com among many, many other things. So, like I said, the Whitecaps will take on CF Montreal on Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure to tune into the Sports Talkline website for the latest pregame and postgame articles about the team, and stay tuned for a special article I am working on about a player who brought his cat down to Utah with him. I'm really excited about that article. Should hear back from the team shortly and should come out sometime next week, but we'll wait to see when I hear back from the team about that. Thank you everyone for tuning into the 50th episode of the Unnamed Sports Show. Like I said, tune in next week for a special 1 hour live anniversary show. So for the Sports Talkline Network, I have been your host, Joshua Griffith. And remember to love sports, all sports.